And Barry, you'd say that the purchase of Office 365, I'm not going to ask for a specific number, but was an acceptable figure that you're happy with the return on that investment?
Yes, it was. Actually, it is less than if you went out and bought if you just bought the typical OEM license of Office. And because if you go buy all the individual components that it takes, everything from your core cows to Office, to maybe a Dropbox business connection, to different licenses that it takes. You go today, you may have a lot of that, but it's in multiple components. You go add up what you're paying per month, and then go look at what your monthly subscription is on Office 365, and probably what you're going to find out that you could save $3 or $4 per month per license by making the swap to Office 365. That was the case we went through. We had gone through and did a pretty extensive cost analysis on it, and had all the pieces or the things that we wanted to do and what they were going to cost us. And we listed all those out, and at the end of the day, we were going to save money by actually going to Office 365.
And Matt, you talked about focus. Again, don't give me a specific number, but an acceptable figure that you feel like you got the return you needed?
Yep.
Okay, you also talked a little bit about communication. Some of the emails you sent, some of the files were too big, you had to deal with Drive. In terms of communication with your customers, how do they want to communicate with you? I mean, do they want to pick up the phone? Do they want to use apps? Do they want to, talk to you electronically? What are you seeing as the trend now and 5 years from now, and how your customers are going to communicate with you, and what you need to do to make sure that you're making that as easy as possible for them? Because it's about them. It's all about when the rubber hits the road on that end. Easy for you doesn't equal easy for them all the time.
Right.
What's the easiest way that you're seeing for them? Barry, you go first.
Okay, so one of the things that I'm starting to see, and this has happened really 3 times already this year, we got an option on our website called Request for Quote, and they can go there and they can type in a part number or a description and a quantity. That's all we got to have. The part number doesn't have to be correct, and they can submit that, and it goes to their inside salesperson. Well, as people have begun to use that, and they've kind of pushed this kind of to the next level. So what we're starting to see really from 2 customers, we've got one who says, either way it goes about, however it happens, when I get that quote, I'm going to review that quote from your website. So that quote must be available in your website. Whether my person generated the quote from the website, or whether they called or they told John, the outside account manager, when he was there, hey, I need you to go quote me this, this, and this. He said, I want it to be in the website. And they're going to go in, and this customer requires this. We put those quotes in there. They pull those quotes up. It actually drops them into a shopping cart. They select what they want. They actually place that order. It's actually a punch-out connection. They go actually punch out with the contents of that cart. It goes into their procurement system. They send us a CXML PO. We get that CXML PO. We automatically turn that into a sales order within our ERP system. We actually ship that material. We send order acknowledgments back to them electronically, and then we actually do the billing, and then we actually send the invoice back to them with a CXML invoice back to them. They get ready to pay us. Guess what they're doing? They're paying us with an ACH transaction. So we have 2 customers today that are doing that very scenario. And it is completely it's just really almost hands off from a human perspective. Except for there's still that need for that salesperson to get involved in that quoting process. But the way they deliver that quote and that quote is entered is completely different than the way it was 2 years ago. We've got another one who's really they're requesting us, my field supervisors, and some people call it project managers depending on the term they want to use. They have a list of material that they can buy. I want them to, and we've already negotiated that pricing with you. I want that on a tablet. I want them to drop that into a cart. They can buy that stuff all day long. And when they place that order, I want an acknowledgement in my office of what they've ordered. I want you to ship that material to them, and I want you to build it electronically. We're doing that today too. Those are some of the things that we're actually doing today that are kind of completely hands-off from a human perspective.
Matt, how do your customers want to communicate with you?
More of the same. To put it shortly, just automatic and hands-off. So as soon as something happens on our end, they want to be able to see it on their end the same way. So it's very similar to what you said. To take it a different direction a little bit, I mean, customers are texting our sales guys more, so that's a little bit of the future. Not emailing as much. Some websites right now for distributors have that little talk to a live representative. That's a new one that's kind of taking hold. The request a quote button on the website, not everybody has it yet, but it's definitely growing in popularity. They don't want to have to pick up the phone. It's kind of like how I am with my manufacturers. I like to be able to check everything online, and then when there's a problem, I still have to have a good relationship with somebody there to call and fix the problem. But if there's no problem, I don't want to have to talk to anybody on the phone. Just let me see it, I go, no problem, I move on, I do another thing. It's the same way our customers want it from us. So live, up-to-date, automatic, and when needed, the person on the phone with a good relationship.
You guys keep talking website.
Yeah.
What percentage of your customer base is website only?
Website only?
Yeah.
That's very low.
It is?
Percentage-wise, yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I'd say less than 1% website only. So the difference between, you put the word only in there and it drives it way, way down. Now, if you take the word only out and they use the website as a tool, then it's going to skyrocket. The percentage is way off the chart, probably 60-70%, I would say. But to only do through the website, less than 1%.
Do they purchase through your website?
Yes.
What percentage is that?
It's less than 1%.
Would you like that number to be better than that?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely, you want it to be better.
What about you, Matt? What's the percentage website only?
Very small. Our e-commerce, it's actually private right now, so we only introduce it to select customers. They can log on, so we don't have it open to the public, so it's small thanks to us. We're kind of in the exploratory stage right now of what is going to be that next step, because we know it's inevitable for all of us. So we're really at the point where we're exploring. We have an option right now, but we know it's not as good as what it needs to be. So looking into a few companies, we'd like that percentage to be a lot more too. Yeah, but it's a scary world, especially when you're first getting into it. You have no idea what to expect. Even if that percentage is high, is it the right customer? Is it the customer you want it to be high with? Is really a question you should ask yourself, but it shouldn't scare you away either. You're going to need to do it either way.
Yeah. One thing for our website too is, it's not open to the whole world to ship anywhere, because you got supplier agreements you have to honor. You have to keep that in mind when you go to design your website, and we certainly do that. And so, it can get kind of complicated if you have to be, you may have a customer who's wanting you to ship to an area that you can't ship that particular product to. And so, all of those things have to be built in. That's where the complexities come in at. At one point in time in our website, we did have, we were doing some cash sales, and they were beginning to grow, but they were going to, violate our supplier agreements, and we couldn't do it, so we had to put an end to it. So that drove that percentage down. But I mean, that's, as a company, that's how we're going to do business. We're not going to violate those agreements. So we had to put those changes in place. I think that it depends on the segment. Obviously we're on the industrial side, the usage is fairly heavy. You get commercial construction, not as much is still used. If you begin to look at like universities and governments, then yeah, they're going to use it, probably going to demand it. So it's kind of a mixed bag there a little bit, but especially when it comes to universities, they will certainly want to tax you. They want to do it all from the XML, the punch out. They want to do the whole round trip inside the website.
And you guys have heard of these kooky, crazy companies called Amazon Supply and Grainger, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they're kind of playing that online game pretty hard. I
don't know who it was. I just heard a rumor the other day. But it wasn't either of them. Somebody just did an all online order, no human communication that was over $100,000, an electrical distributor. So it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing anything to compete with them, or at least strategizing to prepare for them?
Strategizing, yes. So we're working on our e-commerce capabilities right now. Yeah, there's a lot you have to have right from the start, or else you might as well not have done it in the first place. Giving them recommended items, giving them the ability to build a list that they purchase regularly, those automatic updates with their invoices. So you really have to be able to compete with them right when you start, or else you're wasting your time trying. But the key is to have those value-added services, the good relationships, the things we've always had, and build that on top of the things that Amazon and Grainger are already doing.
Yeah, and I agree with everything Matt just said. I mean, it's from a e-commerce perspective, trying to compete against Amazon and Grainger's mammoth and almost impossible. You think about it, but your website should have some of those basic search capabilities that are pretty strong. Customers need to be able to find what they're out there looking for. And make sure you're strong there. Have a great taxonomy or your product hierarchy. Have that very strong in place. Have your data that's really good. Those images, spec sheets. If you don't really have an image, the chance of selling something is just almost nil. So. It's those key elements on a website. You've got to make sure you have those in place. And obviously, the value-added services that we provide as distributors versus an Amazon supply, we think is superior. We need to make sure we deliver that superior service to them. But some of the, for us, to be honest with you, when we build our website and we look at functionality, you don't think that I don't go out to Amazon Supply or to Grainger and shop and buy and actually have something delivered to me occasionally to see how it works? I absolutely do. I hate to be buying from the competition, but at times you need to experience it. How they're experiencing and how better way to do it than to go buy a battery and have it shipped to you, or go, even part of what we do, we looked at some of how Grainger does things, and you want to kind of tailor your website to offer some of the services that they're doing. They got a whole much larger budget. I think the last I heard, their budget was around $400 million. It's probably north of that. If I had that budget, I could do it too, I guess. I don't know.
You guys talked a little. At the beginning, you talked about recruiting people to be employees. Certainly the Amazon folks, Grainger, they recruit people, but they recruit them to be customers. And they're continuing to do that by the upgrades and the shorter delivery times and everything that they do. So they're definitely competitive when it comes to recruiting and retaining people. They just want to recruit and retain customers.
Right.
Okay, we got about 15 minutes left. I know Linda had a question related to e-commerce and websites, so have at it. Let's get started with questions from you guys.
Actually, I heard very simple, but I just want to ask you some question. You talked about having a technology strategy in the business space, strategy. Where does your digital strategy, technology, range in the overall corporate strategy, and how well aligned are you with the understanding, especially of digital?
So ours is very aligned, okay? So a little bit about our organization. We, our executives, we have what we call the strategic natural team. And it's, I think there's 9 of us now. And I'm a member of that team. Wes Smith, our president, is. Our regional vice presidents, our VP of Human Resources, our CFO, our CEO. So we're all part of that team. We're part of building that strategic plan for mayor electorate. So I sat at the table with those guys. And so I'm very much a part of that. And as we build our strategic plan for our company, then I'm there to make sure that I can build our strategic IT plan to meet that strategic plan of the company. That's how it works within Mayor. I'm a part of that team.
Do you find that you're an evangelist for digital technologies, or are they bringing the same viewpoints on it?
Somewhat of an evangelist, yes. However, if you know a little bit about Wes's background, Wes was CIO prior to me, so I can't blow smoke up his rear end. And so I got, I guess that's on tape, right? So, but no, seriously though, Wes, he has a lot of knowledge, so, he gets it, he understands it. And I think that a lot of the members of our strategic natural team, they really understand it. Do they lean on me to bring things to the table? Absolutely. Absolutely they do. But yeah, I'm a little bit of an evangelist, but it's actually a a fairly easy job because, as long as I'm in step with the direction as a company that we're going, and I'm providing, we're providing those technology solutions that help us meet those goals, then they certainly trust me on the next round when we're doing the next one.
For us, so we have 22 locations, but we're pretty well centralized at our corporate location. And we don't have a CIO, but we have a CFO who kind of acts like a CIO, which that's nice to have the finance and the IT kind of spearheading the same projects. But the inspiration comes from a few different places. It really depends. Sometimes it comes from marketing, sometimes it comes from the CFO himself, and sometimes it's coming from the customer, and we all have to get together and figure out how we're going to make it happen. But I say ours are pretty well aligned, just because there's a small team around that CFO that's really the decision makers. So they get to sit down in a room and really decide what the plan is for the future and what we're going to work on right now. So